Hello? Okay.
Yeah, we'll give folks another few minutes and we'll get going.
I drive up every day and that's all I did was work up there. I love it. Mayor, it's 6 o'clock? Yes, sir. Oh, we're giving more time?
Yeah.
I'll just mind my business. Thank you.
Even for a supervisor. Yeah. But the mosquitoes are out.
Yeah.
Wait till summer.
Could you, Keith, could you press your request to speak button?
Oh, Tammy says she's on her way. She's going to.
Okay, so your staff 1. Curtis or Cindy, would you either mind just press your request to speak? Okay, your staff 4. And then Colton, could you press yours? Maybe Dias 9. Okay. Mind pressing yours, Humberto? 1. Got it. Okay. The microphone?
Mic off.
Yeah. Or if you want the hot mic on.
That's all right. I mean, request to speak is lit up, so.
Yeah, if you yep.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. That's staff 1 through 4. All right. Are we ready? All right, we'll call this meeting to order, Leah.
Great. Okay, meeting called to order at 6:04. Members of the audience who wish to address the Citizens Advisory Focus Group are requested to complete a speaker card available at the podium against the back of the council chambers. Please submit the completed card to the clerk before the item is called, preferably before the meeting begins. Material may be emailed to planningweb@cityofmerced.gov no later than 1 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Please specify which portion of the agenda you will be commenting on, for example, report item number or public comment. Your comments will be presented to the CAFG at the appropriate time. Any correspondence received after 1 p.m. will be distributed to the focus group and retained for the official record.
Thank you, Leah. Begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody could please stand. And I was going to lead the pledge, but Mayor Pro Tem Boyle, her sweatshirt with the red, white, and blue on the side, I think it'd be nothing but fitting that she lead the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Boyle. Leah, roll call.
Roll call. Curtis Thomas,
Here.
Humberto Sandoval,
Here.
Matthew Serrato,
Present.
Steve Maxey, Cynthia Kelly, here. Tammy Johnson, April Holloway,
Present.
Cheryl Hirsch, Jeremiah Greggins,
Present.
Anthony Gonzalez, Keith Ensminger, Colton Dennis,
Here.
Sarah Boyle,
Here.
and Marissa Lewis.
All right, thank you. Move on to public comment.
I do not have any requests to speak.
Okay, is there anyone from the public who'd like to be heard at this time during the public comment section? Okay, seeing no one, except for Deputy City Manager Quintero. Anything you'd like to say at this time, sir? Okay. City Manager McBride, anything? Okay. You guys are good. All right, move on to our consent calendar.
Consent calendar item E1 25-1039, Citizens Advisory Focus Group minutes of October 8th, 2025.
All right. Any discussion or a motion with respect to item E1, which are minutes from October the 8th? Commissioner Sandoval. Okay. Oh, staff one. Mr. Emser.
Yeah, for some reason, I'm not listed as present on that and, August meeting, so I want to make sure that's updated.
Okay, let's see.
And I would like to encourage us to include more detailed, minutes of our meetings, because the first meeting, we had a pretty lively discussion about different issues, things I raised, and our outreach on different social media outlets, possibility of having hostels, hosting jail downtown. October 8th meeting, I mentioned, my contact with professors at the UCLA Public Policy School and their surveys, and that's not listed. So I think it's important to list as much of the discussions that we have, so that the community can be better informed. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, and with that correction, if you're welcome to make a motion if you like with the correction, or anybody else can make a motion with the addition of your name as being present.
Well, I'd like to make a motion of my name being present and the issues that I talked about as well.
Okay. Motion approved with a recommendation that more detail be provided. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, second from Member Holloway. Anybody else, any comments, discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll call.
May
for
we
the
take a
question.
roll call vote?
Yes.
Hands. All in favor?
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, seeing none, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
On to our
Item
reports.
F1 26-174, Existing Conditions Report. By Britt, our consultant. Oh, let me get you speaker.
And if we can get the PowerPoint. Perfect.
All right, welcome. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, good evening, everybody. Great to be back here again. It has been a while, as you had heard from the last set of minutes. The last time we were here with the CAFG was back in October 2025, and now we're marching into March of 2026. So it has been quite some time, but a lot has happened in between the last time that we met in the fall of last year. So as part of tonight's meeting, I just want to go through just an overview and the purpose, and then I'll hand it over for a quick update from city staff and then take the mic back. So as part of our CFAG meeting tonight, number 3, we're going to give an overview of where we've been so far through the process, which is focused mainly on phase 2, which is the existing conditions portion of the general plan update for the city of Merced. We'll end up also going through just a brief overview of the community workshop that we held at the end of January. So just last month, some of the feedback that we've received and we are still receiving as of this date. It is still open, and Hannah, our lead planner, will discuss that further with all of you. And then our main purpose of tonight is to actually bring the same workshop exercises that were given to the community and that are currently online and bring it forward to the CFAG. And part of this is to collect feedback from community members, those who could and could not attend the second workshop, and ask the same questions of you, the CFAG, to gather that feedback. And that'll help influence the vision and guiding principles as part of that, as part of this process. And that'll actually be the next CFAG meeting that we convene with all of you, is collecting all of that feedback to help provide the guideposts per se for the general plan. And if, as you remember from one of our first meetings, the vision and guiding principles serves as the framework for the policies, the goals, and the programs within your general plan moving forward. And so any land use decision, any other policy decision, not necessarily relating to land use, it could relate to economic development, could relate to transportation and mobility or safety services within the community would have to align with that vision and guiding principles. But before we can come up with a vision, we have to understand where the community wants to head. What are the issues within Merced? What are the perceived issues? What are the opportunities within the community? And what are the assets that we should leverage as part of this update? And so we'll all discuss that a bit more. But first, I'll hand it over to the planning manager. Sam, if you can just give a brief update on high-speed rail and the DSAP process.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. As far as the high-speed rail goes at this moment, I'm sure as you all know, we're just waiting on HSR. This will be the easiest update is I have no update. So,
All right, thank you, Sam.
Okay.
Any, on that, any questions on a high-speed rail update? Anything there? All right, Mr. Amsminger.
that's correct. High-speed rail still has not given clear direction on where they're going, so we're still just in a holding pattern. That's why I'm saying the easiest thing is to say is no update. Nothing's changed since the last time I spoke with you, Keith.
Determination where we wanted to go, so where does that stand now?
Right, that's exactly what I'm saying, is yes, we've had a meeting at the city council where they were talking about recommendations, seeking recommendations on where to go. But we have not heard anything back at this moment. So we're still in, no decisions have been made, at least no decisions that I've been made aware of at this level. And again, that's what I'm saying at this point, for us to speak high-speed rail here at the CAFG wouldn't be a good use of your guys' time at the moment.
Okay, so we haven't heard back from high-speed rail then?
I have nothing to report from high-speed rail. at this
Okay,
time.
thank you.
Mr. Thomas.
Yeah, I did just want to add that today I learned that a bill was introduced in the state Senate, SB 1411, that proposes to lift the expenditure cap on the high-speed rail authority so that this expenditure cap has existed for some time that requires them to limit their spending outside of the Central Valley. This bill proposes to remove that cap in totality, and that reads to me like the authority is prepared to go ahead and start spending their money elsewhere. So I did want to bring that to the attention of the CAFG.
Okay. And we've been in contact, the authority's been in contact with us. They're not sponsoring that bill. They're not in support of that bill. That's not something they're carrying. And then I think that's one thing. So they're certainly, as state law currently requires the station to be in downtown Merced, state law currently requires that the authority prioritize the Merced to Bakersfield segment with a very limited spending cap on spending money elsewhere. State law, there's a lot of things that are obviously outside of our control and outside of the control of the authority. State law is going to dictate, and it's going to be a very interesting legislative session this year with possibly a lot of activity. And we're going to see whether or not SB 198 gets amended, whether or not that bill introduced by Senator Stern gets any traction, or any of the other bills potentially that are coming. So stay tuned. It'll be interesting. There's a lot of very fluid situation and a lot of balls in the air too. Senator Cortese, who's the chair, I believe, of the Transportation Commission, he's proposed a number of things as well too. So it's hard to say exactly what's going to happen, but a lot of it's going to get done in Sacramento, and I think we're going up. Our team's going up March 11th, and then we got another team going up March 4th. We're going to have discussions with legislators during both meetings, both different groups. Our city group's going up on the 11th, and other groups going up on the 4th, valley-wide electeds. So there's a lot to be decided this year, and I think it'll certainly be interesting. So we'll see what's next. All right, anybody else? Okay, seeing no more comments, we're moving on.
Perfect. Now, besides high-speed rail, there's a lot of other components going on with the general plan. And so what I'd like to do is just fill the CFAG in of the general plan schedule, the phase that we're in, what's been completed, and then what to anticipate coming up. So we're currently wrapping up the existing conditions and trends. So this is phase 2. If you remember from our first meeting back in August, the existing conditions and trends phase looks at a snapshot of Merced today. And the only way that you can understand a community is to understand where it starts from, and that's the starting point to then look towards the future. So as part of the existing conditions and trends phase, we had 2 CFAG meetings. We prepared an existing conditions and trends workbook, which was brought forward to the CFAG. Comments were submitted, and then we worked with city staff to make modifications and or edits to that report. And then we had our second open house, and that was held last month, which culminated the end of the existing conditions workbook and then started the assets, issues, and opportunities discussion as part of the general plan. So the existing conditions and trends workbook has been finalized. It's posted on the website now. For a reminder of the CFAG, this is an important document and it's one of the first deliverables of this project. The reason why it's important is because this is the guidepost to move forward to the future visions and guiding principles, as I had mentioned. But this workbook also serves as the existing setting for the environmental impact report, which will be prepared further down the road once we have a complete general plan in hand and it's gone out for public review. And so this workbook will serve as that existing setting that our environmental partner will use to backfill the existing information from the beginning. If you are interested in looking at the final document, as I mentioned, it is posted online. If you need a link to that, city staff is more than willing to provide that to you. Just reach out to Sam, Leah, or Francisco, and they'll be glad to send that over as well. So shifting gears, we're starting now to think about, we've touched on the existing conditions. Where is Merced in 2025, 2026? And then now we're going to start to dive into what are the issues, what are the opportunities, and what are the assets within the community. And these are the same questions that we posed at our first, or should I say our second workshop, and we got a lot of feedback from those who attended, and that feedback is still being collected digitally. So I'm going to ask one of our lead planners, Hannah Woolsey, here who's with me tonight. Hannah's going to walk through an overview of the workshop, provide some metrics for all of you. I know that was very important from the council's perspective to hear metrics on those who attended and get some live feedback. And she'll walk through some of the information that we've received from the community so far. And then we'll go through the same questions that we asked them. We want this to be a transparent process and consistent all the way through. So the same questions the community is getting asked, we're going to ask all of you tonight. And then after we get through that portion of the exercise, I'll just wrap up on next steps, what to anticipate as part of the process, and then I'll hand it back to the mayor to conclude the meeting at that point. So I will hand this over to Hannah. If you have any questions during the presentation, just feel free to let the chair know, and he'll be glad to facilitate those to our team or city staff as need be.
Thank you.
Good evening, CFG. So yeah, as Brent mentioned, my name is Hannah Woolsey. I'm the lead planner on the consultant side for this project. And so just to give a brief overview of the second community open house that we had for this project, we had it on Wednesday, January 28th. It ran for 4 hours from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And we had over 50 attendees sign their name on the sign-in sheet. We think there are probably more people that just didn't sign their name on the sign-in sheet, but very lively discussion. People were very engaged. We provided activities and also informational posters in English, Hmong, and Spanish, just to provide more options for people. And as Brent mentioned, we covered a range of activities that aim to collect feedback that we will use in the drafting of the vision and guiding principles for the general plan, and those will in turn guide the policies, goals in the actual general plan itself. So the activities covered city strengths, issues that are present in the city today, and opportunities, both now and in the coming decades. We also asked attendees to give us feedback on what they would like to see as the city goes into the future, and any lessons that we can learn from the city's past that could be used in the drafting of policies in this general plan. So on the next couple slides are some photos from the event. As you can see, people placed plenty of sticky notes all over the different activities. We had 5 large posters that people could put sticky notes on. People were discussing their answers to different topics as we were there. We got lots of really great feedback on a variety of different topics. And there was a good amount of consistent responses amongst attendees throughout the event. A lot of people were concerned about bicycle and pedestrian safety, as well as bicycle and pedestrian routes and access throughout the city. Another common topic of discussion was access to services in the southern portion of the city. A lot of people were concerned about the availability of grocery stores and potential for alleviating food deserts in Merced. Other topics that were mentioned were the variety of community-led resources in the city. People were very supportive of senior center, other community groups in the area, and they'd like to see those continued into the future. Other people, understandably, were interested in the high-speed rail station and where that was going, so there was some discussion about that as well. And finally, a lot of people were interested in making sure that the downtown has more opportunities for growth, for economic development, increased housing opportunities. But there was a huge variety of topics mentioned that we will be using as we begin to draft the vision and guiding principles. So we did offer the in-person workshop at the end of January, but we also wanted to offer an opportunity for people who were not able to attend the workshop to still provide their feedback. So what we have done is we have opened an online survey that essentially mirrors all the activities that were done during the workshop. It will be open until March 16th, so it'll be open for a bit over 4 weeks from the end of the workshop. And like the physical materials in the in-person workshop, all the survey questions will be available or are available in English, Spanish, and Hmong. And the survey is available at the QR code in the presentation if you are interested in looking at it. So now on to the discussion portion of this evening. We will be asking the same questions of you all. And we will begin with a discussion on issues. So what can be improved in the city? We're looking at feedback both on citywide issues as well as location-specific issues, if any come to mind. And with that, I will hand it back to the CFAG to facilitate that discussion.
All right, thank you. All right, so yeah, addressing these, what exactly are you guys looking for at this point? Just kind of a general, broad discussion on what are areas for improvement within the city?
Yeah,
focused on stuff on items relevant to this planning process, or just in general, overall?
Anything in general that we can potentially draft policies for or plan for in this general plan. So just for example, some issues that people brought up during the workshop were lack of safe bike lanes, need for improved sidewalks, the food deserts, like I had mentioned, and need for more grocery stores in southern part of the city. So just anything like that that comes to mind that are issues that you have noticed or that you know are an issue in the city as it stands right now.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll start with Mr. Thomas.
Hello, I'm Curtis. I'm the representative from the Bicycle Commission. I have several high-level and low-level things to get through. I'm just gonna try not to keep everybody here all night. Okay. One thing while I was going through the report yesterday, I noticed that I did a little napkin math, and it occurred to me that if we could just wave a magic wand and we just turned all the low-density zoning, all the R1 zoning in the city to medium density, we could house 234,000 people without growing the city limits by 1 acre. That seems pretty impressive to me. I'm going to bounce around a little bit. I also recently had a walk along Childs with council members Tao and Zhang I found that experience to be pretty jarring and uncomfortable. There's a lot of heavy traffic, including freight traffic, that comes through on that side of Childs Avenue. I'm sorry, that is the west side of Childs Avenue.
Curtis, hold that thought for a second. Let me stop you. When you said you might be talking a while, it got me thinking for a second. How, in terms of time, we're scheduled to be here till 8. How much more do you guys have for this presentation, or is this the bulk of it tonight?
The discussion is the bulk of the presentation tonight. We have 5 total questions that we are asking of you tonight. So we have a issues question, assets, opportunities, and then I guess it's sort of a 2-in-1 question of what would you like to see in the city's future and what can we learn from the past. So those are the main
Okay.
topics of interest for tonight.
How many, just so I can schedule a time, how many slides do you have total?
We have five more slides to go.
Okay.
I would say 15 to 20 minutes per slide. It is a large group to get through. And
Yes.
I understand we might not be able to get all the comments, as mentioned, voiced vocally. So any comments you do have that are taken, please provide those to city staff because they do give those to us and we document them. They'll be documented as part of actually an engagement summary report that'll go to council and commission.
Okay, so about 20 minutes per,
About 15 to 20 minutes per.
okay,
And that'll keep us within that time frame of tonight's 2-hour meeting.
okay.
Okay.
So let's do, we'll have everybody gets to speak. We're gonna do 3, you get a little break, you get a little bonus because you talked already. So you get a little extra, but we'll go 3 minutes. So put everybody gets 1 shot, each go around, no seconds. You got 1 shot, make it count, and you got 3 minutes. Curtis gets a little bonus.
Okay.
So go ahead.
All right. So I found West Childs to be very uncomfortable, very unsafe. I think that we can definitely improve the pedestrian and cycling infrastructure there. And I think we can reroute a lot of the truck traffic off of Childs. I don't think it has any business being in that segment of road. We could probably do an extension off of Dickinson Ferry to the airport because a lot of that's going to the airport industrial zone. Let's see. Additionally, I've noticed that many of our class 2, that is the painted bicycle lanes, overlap with our major arterial roads. These are roads that have high speeds and heavy traffic, and I think it's extremely inappropriate to be having that kind of bicycle lane there. I think that if we get serious about improving our bicycle infrastructure, we could get a lot of car traffic off the road, especially with the advent of e-bikes being readily available and affordable. I think that would probably do a lot to mitigate a lot of our traffic issues, as well as reduce infrastructure costs in the long term. Let's see. Kind of related to that, I did notice in the report that there's less than 1 worker per vehicle occupancy. I think we can move those people onto bikes if we had more reasonable infrastructure. I also think that the city should coordinate with MCAG to move the bus service to a grid network. The current Pulsed Spoken Hub network provides service that is too slow and difficult to predict cognitively. With a grid service, frequencies are much higher, and it's easy to predict the bus routes. Oh no, I had something and it's gone. Okay.
50 seconds to final thought.
The pressure isn't helping. Okay. Let me look. It's probably buried in my notes here.
We can pause your time at
Yeah, that works.
31 and come back to you. All right, so you got 31 seconds remaining. I'm making note of that. And just on your point on the bus routes, I agree actually wholeheartedly. I've been trying to kick up a fuss at MCAG about our routes are very, what are called, they're designed more for the transit dependent, which emphasizes coverage versus emphasizing speed and directness and more predictability. So, with some, hopefully we can make some, in targeting more the choice riders versus the transit dependent. So if you target the choice riders, hopefully you increase ridership, but also having different routes that are more direct as opposed to routes. If you look at the routes, yeah. So I think, I agree with what you're saying. Ms. Kelly?
Thank you. So I'm Cindy Kelly, representing District 3, so I'm going to primarily focus on District 3, which includes the downtown area. You know, one of the things with the downtown area being one of the more older areas in Merced is the aging infrastructure. Major issue. We all know that funds are limited, especially, but the roads are not getting any better. They're doing patches but not repairs, and that's not going to hold up for long in those areas. And it definitely doesn't help when you have the older trees there as well, and the root systems bowing out the sidewalks, messing up the streets, sewer lines to houses, things like that. Even the sewer mains have had problems. So that would be an issue. The northern sprawl. So we are prime in the downtown area to build up and not out. We could retrofit the buildings there, such as we did with Merced Lofts. And we could have that area be a combination of residential and retail. I think that would have, you know, that would definitely contribute to a more robust and vibrant downtown area. You know, a lot of what we do is annexations, or we have seen a lot of these annexations, and we continue to do this sprawl. It continues to contribute to less walkable communities. You know, for me personally, if there was an opportunity to have, say, a 2-3 bedroom downtown outside of the Tioga with tiny rooms in there, but if there was more availability in the area, I would certainly move closer to downtown to where I had the option of walking rather than getting in my car. And the last thing, and I know this is been on everybody's mind, and it will be addressed under safety, is crime. We've had 3, 4, 5 homicides since January 1st. One today, actually at Applegate Park, while the children were there after school. So I think having, I don't know how to put it, because we had a northern police station substation, we had the southern police substation, the main station. I think we need to really look back at having substation options in each of these districts, even if it's just 1 to 2 officers in those stations that can respond quickly. You know, where we're headed with these homicides is very terrifying. And I can't imagine being, I'm an empty nester. I can't imagine having children being very, very concerned about how safe they are on the streets of Merced. So those are the main issues in District 3.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kelly. Anybody else? This time, Ms. Chalmers, you have 31 seconds remaining if you'd like to address the CAFG.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to see us have more diffuse commercial applications, more retailers mixed into neighborhoods like you see on the Northeast, in the Northeast region, more like, for example, delicatessens. I think relying on large retailers for our tax base makes us very brittle and vulnerable, and enhances car dependency. Additionally, I think that we need to consider the freight routes that run through the city. Hazmat exposures and pollution are the only really serious risks that the city faces.
Okay. Time is up, sir, but there'll be 3 to 4 more opportunities to address the body after this. Ms. Johnson.
So I was able to attend the event and added Post-its, and I would like to echo just sort of general safety, road safety, the driving that we really need to improve our road safety, the retail embedded in communities. I understand when people say, oh my God, another Starbucks, but adding a Starbucks and a sandwich shop in walkable distance to where people are living, the huge area that's being built up with apartment complexes over on south of Yosemite around our street. They need services in that area. They need to be able to walk to places. One thing that comes up for me is evening and weekend transportation for the university in the summer, where we lose transportation to the city bus to the UC during the summer, and it's really tough on campus. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Mayor Pro Tem Boyle.
I have some of the same issues listed. I went back in some notes that I had taken at a previous meeting, but one of them that has come to mind, and as we continue to grow, is just maintenance as Merced grows. We can install, or you can have new parks, but how are we going to maintain them? I think it's just a topic that needs to be discussed.
Mr. Amsinger.
Is it on now? There we go. Thank you. Let's see. I've been meeting with groups in District 2. That's where I represent. And Brett, do you recall receiving notes that I had written from groups that I had met with them in the district, because they provided quite a bit of information?
Any documentation received, we have saved in our folder, but I can follow up with you and city staff following the meeting.
Okay, because there were tons of information. I could have brought it, but some of the big issues were housing and public safety. Housing being a big concern. I met with people at Golden Valley Health Centers on Childs, and that was a major issue for their staff, to be able to afford housing to live in the neighborhood and commute to work, access to the facility. Coordinated transit, that was an issue with the Boys and Girls Club, because there's a lot of ways that students, young people could get there by coordinated school buses and Merced buses and things like that. There was a concern about high-speed rail isolating District 2 even more. Some people mentioned that. A number of people related to housing mentioned condos related to the building up kind of thing as an affordable way for people to enter home ownership, and that's really important. I wanted to talk about the participants at the public surveys, because it's nice that we had 50 participants. I mentioned before that we need to get engaged with UC Merced Public, the Labor Center. Sam, I introduced you to some folks. Paul, Brett, you met Paul at that meeting. They produced a survey of high-speed attitudes towards high-speed rail in districts around downtown, and they had like 450 participants. And they plan to survey Merced in general, and I would really encourage us to work with them, because they can survey thousands of people in the city. And it's a scientific kind of a survey. And Matt, if I could have a few seconds more if I run out. My wife and I have run a translation business for the past 30 years, and we've been involved in public policy, medical research, and lots of surveys, and there's a scientific component to that. It's nice to have the public comment feature, but those are all anecdotal things. In the kinds of surveys they run, they actively seek out people, and...
I got to cut you off. You'll have another chance soon.
Pardon?
You'll have another chance soon. I got to cut you off right now.
Okay, well, they actively seek out people, and that's important. So.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Ms. Johnson, or Ms. Holloway.
Thank you. Just in my district, just noticing the homes are still nice and old and beautiful, but the sidewalks are horrible. There's no curb ramp on a lot of them. So for me, a lot of my input is children. I have small children myself. I'm a teacher. And childhood obesity is still a big thing. And so I try to take my kids out to bike ride. But if you try to go on these sidewalks in a scooter or roller skates, I fell the other day. And it's because the sidewalks are all cracked because there's a ton of trees, which is beautiful. And Merced is known for our air quality actually being really good because we have so many trees. But we all have to think about maintaining those sidewalks because those roots are ruining it. And
we need to just help these. I think that's why these kids don't go outside anymore. These sidewalks aren't appealing. They're not trying to have them play outside, and that's really sad. You know, we have phones and all that. The kids are distracted by it. But, you know, as a parent, I try to take my kids out as much as possible. We love being outside. But these sidewalks have just limited us. We do a lot. We're lucky the city does offer a lot of free sports for the kids to do and all of that. But again, it goes back to transportation. How many of these kids can get to practice if we don't have a good bus system? These parents are at work and can't take these kids, so they're stuck at home. So what we can do as a city to help out, I believe, is just have really good sidewalks so that these kids can play. And then going back to safe neighborhoods so these kids can play. I think we have lost the component of neighborhood watch here in the city. You don't see that anymore. There's that neighborhood app, but everybody says, oh, did you hear those fireworks? Like, it's not such a good program. So I would love to see the city police come out with maybe a revamped neighborhood watch program. Maybe we can connect it with Merced Connect app. Somehow get people in the community to want to help out their neighborhoods a lot more and get to know each other a lot more because we don't know our neighbors anymore. And so I just would really like for the city to work with the police department and maybe come out with a new revamped neighborhood watch. Maybe we can look into other cities, what they're doing. We complain about the police and not having so many of them. So that's where we have to all come together and help each other out in these neighborhoods.
All right, thank you, Ms. Holloway. Mr. Sandoval.
Yeah, so for me, some issues I see is we have damaged city infrastructure in the Bellevue Ranch area. These neighborhoods are still under development, and you know we're seeing sidewalks where there's absolutely no homes, yet sidewalks are cracked, broken, you know, gaps this big. It's unacceptable. I've dealt with something adjacent to my property, and so I think finding ways to hold builders accountable. I think for a long time, and maybe this is some of the lessons learned piece, but for a while, I think we've prioritized housing and allowing builders to have, you know, the best of both worlds, a city that's willing to give them what they want and the opportunity to develop. And I think missing some of those key details where got to make sure that these builders are also held accountable and making sure that that infrastructure doesn't fall burden on the city. So I think that's an issue there. Another thing is also small commerce pockets. I think we need to be a little bit more creative with zoning. Again, I live in the Bellevue area, so I see it. I have to drive. Closest grocery store, closest anything is that Rayleigh's Center. So it makes it difficult for people, especially if you want to walk. Like you can't just walk down to this, you know, corner store. In my neighborhood, right, you need either a bike or getting your car. So that's an issue there, and I think we can be creative about zoning. Another thing too that I see as an issue is I think there may be an issue with community outreach, and I'll use maybe what we've been seeing as an example. The mayor of New York City, I think, has done a phenomenal job with outreach and creativity and reaching people really where they're at. We live in a time where a lot of people are using their phones and TikTok as a main source of information, and I think that's a resource that's, you know, heavily underutilized, pushing the algorithm so that, you know, we're, you know, working here with our folks here in our community. I'm seeing a lot of creators here in the Merced area and the greater 209 that are, you know, are really pushing our local businesses, and some of our businesses are really working together. I saw Kind Neighbor and Central Valley Podcast do some really cool collaboration. I think figuring out how maybe we can look for grants so that we can engage some of these namesakes here in our city and try to promote and work in partnership with the city because I think outreach is a big thing. I mean, there is no people here, and I think that's a failure of outreach. So, yeah, I think a social media person I think would be very helpful. Oh, and trash and empty lots in North Merced. A lot of trash up in the Bellevue area.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else? Mr. Dennis.
I'll just add to housing, affordable housing. We just recently, downtown Merced, we recently received our designation as a cultural district. And with that, there is Assembly Bill 812 that authorizes to reserve affordable housing units for artists and cultural workers within a half a mile of a designated cultural district. I'm hoping that we can look into that and see how we can utilize that as affordable housing as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else? All right, just a few comments real quick. I think, you know, the notion of sort of density clusters or spots where there's density, meaning more dense housing around transportations, around certain key hubs, I think could be really important, such as, you know, around downtown, around the Yosemite and G complex, which has been built up over the last few years, around Campus Parkway, which has built up the last few years, the malls, it's starting to go again. Having a more density of housing around there close to amenities, I think could be important. I disagree to an extent with some of my colleagues here, currently, to the extent that the village model, which we currently have, to a big extent, there's obvious, you draft it, but at the same time, it doesn't always work out in reality. I think the concept that there's going to be little corner stores all over the place just isn't necessarily realistic or practical. You see gas stations coming up in some neighborhoods, and that's, in a lot of ways, that's as close as you're going to get. And it serves a lot of the same potential as well. But I think just being cautious about zoning and being realistic about zoning, I think if we sometimes can get too, you want to kind of dream it up and design it too much, but then the practical reality just doesn't necessarily fit what we're doing. So having a general plan which is realistic is really important. Downtown, I think there's still a lot of potential downtown. Downtown's come up a lot in the last few years, and as Colton mentioned, is now one of the 24 California cultural districts, so that's pretty exciting. Art is a big part of that too, so incorporating art as much as possible. With downtown, a couple possible ideas too we've mentioned and talked about are, one, just finding more parking, and that we've done, a number of, these guys are tired of me. Scott and Frank can go to sleep right now. You guys don't need to hear all this, like me talking about this again, but downtown diagonal parking conversions adds a lot of space. We've created a slower feel and added, roughly 85 net parking spaces to our downtown in the last few years. Also potential road abandonments as well. In a lot of ways, we have big, broad streets that don't really get used too much, especially in the downtown core. If you look at downtown, there's a lot of things like, schools, the county building, all that. Those essentially incorporate road abandonments, where you have sections, John Muir School, the county admin building, and a number of other places as well that have, so do we keep doing that more to create bigger lots, to create better spaces that can attract denser development and more development? Bike lanes downtown, a more bikeable downtown, looking too, as we often do, at sort of private developments that are gated. Those often create more attractive places for condos, more attractive places for home ownership, and they also save the city on maintenance as well, because we don't have to take care of the roads. So that's a big thing as well. Focusing too, when it comes to housing, on building high-quality neighborhoods. I think we're at the point now we can focus more and more on really building nice, high-quality neighborhoods. Industrial as well. We need to do better when it comes to industrial job creation areas. And that's it for now. All right. Who is next? Anybody? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the next item.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you all for your feedback. This is all really good mix of opinions to hear, and mirrors and expands upon a lot of the stuff that we heard at the workshop. So this is all really good stuff to hear about. All right, so our next topic is assets. So what are the city's strengths? And again, we're looking for both citywide strengths and maybe assets that are location specific. So again, I'll hand it back to the CAFG for a discussion on Merced's strengths.
Okay, discussion of citywide strength. Ms. Kelly.
Thank you. Again, I'll speak to District 3 first, which does include the downtown area. One of the biggest assets in this city is its downtown area. That's where you find a lot of your specific restaurants. You find dining options. There's entertainment. A lot of Outdoor activities are held in the downtown area. You know, now with the completion of Bob Hart Square, we'll see concerts, we'll see kind of general things that happen there. So a lot goes on in the downtown area, the parades, everything, makes it really special. It's that Main Street feel. One of the best assets about the city in general is that while we are a mid-sized city, we still have a hometown feel. So that's very attractive to people. It's one of the reasons I moved here many, many decades ago, is because it was a small town at that time and it had the hometown feel. You know, even though, again, we're almost at 100,000 now, I think, and you still know a lot of people. You see them out and about and you still know people by name. We're not so large, 400,000, 1 million people, that you don't know who people are when you see them out and about. And, you know, I often say that Merced is the kind of place where you really don't meet strangers. You know, we all here. So those are the biggest assets in the city, is that we maintain this hometown feel, that no matter how large we get population-wise, that it still has that environment that's attractive to people, that's attractive to businesses, you know, that's attractive to residents, the type of place that people want to use as a jump-off point to Yosemite. You know, the tourism here, we could definitely, you know, we are in such a prime location to Sequoia Kings Canyon, to Yosemite National Park, you know, Tuolumne Grove. We are literally situated perfectly to encourage that type of tourism, that outdoor adventure tourism. And so those are some of our assets.
All right, thank you, Cindy. Anybody else? Mr. Sandoval.
Definitely an asset is our downtown, and I think big part, the Merced Downtown Partnership, I think that's a huge, huge asset. I see those people out there working and keeping the downtown clean. It makes it so, it's a fun experience. You go get a coffee, you sit on the bench, everything looks clean. People are walking, people are doing their thing. There's a lot of movement and commerce. I think that's a huge asset, and I love going to downtown. One of my favorite places to be. Another thing is Merced Mall. I think that's a huge asset that we have here. I know for the longest time we were just waiting for something to happen, and now that we're seeing things happen, you see that mall, those parking lots are packed. People are going to eat, people are going to hang out, go get some clothes, do their business, and I think that's such a huge asset. And I think the twist of this marketplace with now different storefronts, not your traditional mall experience, but I think that's a huge asset, being creative with our spaces and being intentional. And lastly, I think our artery streets, G, M, and R, they offer, all the things that we need here in our city. And I think that's a great planning of the city, in my opinion. And, those three things, you can find anything you really need in Merced. And I think that's a huge, huge asset. And I think those roads, got to make sure we keep it maintained. So that's it for me.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, Mr. Maxey.
Yeah, thank you. Just to echo a lot of what everybody said, I think just to broaden it some, the city's got a lot of really strong opportunities for development around these commercial and service areas that are already planned. Downtown, obviously, being the jewel of town, and I totally agree with what's been said there. You also mentioned, Mr. Mayor, Gene Yosemite and a big service area there with the hospital presence right there. There's a lot of opportunity for continued development there. With the Virginia Smith Trust annexation and the University Community Plan area, there's a lot of really well-planned that the city has worked, really well-planned commercial development that the city's worked on over the last several years. And then the Gateway area down on Campus Parkway. Really focusing on supporting that commercial development, focusing the higher density in those areas. Yes, it's village concept, really focusing on providing that, I'll say the rooftops, to use the classic term, to support those businesses, but also, to go back to a comment that was made earlier, there are better ways to leverage transit service in those areas to have higher headways, which really kind of help support the planning goals of the city and supporting or being able to go and find opportunities for higher density development. I think if I can step back to an issue, one of the issues that Merced faces is, we have a wish list a mile long and wanting to, put higher density all over, or mid-block retail, which a colleague of mine once told me that mid-block retail is completely dead. A lot of the policies that the city has to work within from a planning and development standpoint come down from the state level, and the opportunities that the city can take advantage of are really difficult to leverage because of what our market can bear from a development standpoint, and what a lot of our economic development efforts push up against is the fact that we don't have a market that can support certain levels of economic development. And so I think really focusing on those village concepts, I'll say, or those village areas, and really pushing for that higher density development in those areas is going to help those areas thrive. At the same time, it's going to take some burden off of the outlying areas, and having to plan for commercial that may never show up, that winds up being zone land that sits for a long time, or commercial land that becomes, I'll say, mini storage, or another gas station or Starbucks, whatever it might be, right? These are things that there are better uses for those land. Concentrating those uses into those core areas is really, really important, is a huge asset. If I can add one more thing, 30 seconds, less than that even. We have the UC as a huge asset.
Got to cut you off right now.
Okay.
So more time later. Ms. Holloway.
Thank you. I want to echo what Cynthia said, just the hometown feel. For me, we have a lot of friends who are like, oh, we left Merced. Why are you guys still there? Well, we have kids and they don't, but it's a very homey feeling, and it's very diverse here, and I love that. At one point of my life, I lived in Hawaii, and everybody's like, Hawaii, that's amazing. But there's like almost no diversity over there. I went from seeing every color, shape, or form here, and when we moved, I was the only Mexican at the school, and it was such a shock because no one was like me. And I feel like any kid that can come to Merced can see somebody that looks like them. So that is such a great thing to have here in Merced, and I think it's a huge reason my husband and I stayed here. We're also lucky to have the Valley Children's Hospital in Madera, but having a clinic here in Merced. That's good for the children here, and it's very easy for if our kids do need to go to Valley Children's and they do go to the clinic here, they have all their history there, so it's faster for them to get seen, which is really nice. Merced City Schools offers a lot of programs after school for many children. The Parent Square app on my phone goes off almost every day talking about something that they offer, after school programs and all of that. So that is so unique about our city, that we're caring about our students even after school. And I think that's great for many working parents to know that their kids are safe. And we have the Boys and Girls Club as well, which is great for our city. The Parks Department, I may be biased because I'm also on Parks and Rec Commissioner, but the activities that they offer are free. A lot of them are low cost if there is a cost. So that is so great for Merced to offer for our families. And I know it's like Castle Airport is kind of Atwater, but it's growing. I just got a tour of, I believe it's called TSA, or no, not TSA, sorry, that's the airport. Yeah. And they're like doing a bunch of research on self-driving cars. And that was like so amazing to see that in our backyard. And we're doing so much research for like bigger cities. So it's so amazing that here they're doing a lot more than people know. And that's just a lot of job opportunities and high-paying job opportunities for people in our city. So it's just great to see.
All right, Mr. Thomas.
All right. So I just want to lead with, I have lived in a lot of places. I've moved all over the Southeast. I've lived in Honduras. I've been around. And Merced, so when I say that there's a lot to love about Merced, I have some context for that. some of our strengths, I think one of the big one that jumps out is that we're kind of a union of different transport modes. We've got several large highways that kind of all converge into the same spot in the city. We've got Castle as a rather large airport nearby that could be expanded, or the operations could be expanded. We've got our own airport in the city limits. We've got 2 rail lines that run right into and through the city, which is a lot more than a lot of our neighbors have. And soon, hopefully, high-speed rail. We've got a leg up on everyone else with tourism, I think. Thank you, John Muir. And we've got excellent people here. I've never met a more quirky and engaged bunch of folks than live here in this city. We've got strengths in the UC. We've got some biological reserves that are really nice in the form of Bear Creek, the Grassland Reserve near the UC, and the Sandy Mush Bird Reserve. But I think the thing that stands out the most is that we've got potential. Modesto and Fresno's stories are pretty much told. Ours is not. We still have a lot of open space, even in our interior. A lot of unused right-of-way and things like that that we can leverage to our advantage to shape the city in ways that are both ambitious and realistic. And I think that's a great thing to have and a terrible thing to squander.
Mr. Dennis.
Yeah, I think our strength is our creative economy, though that is blossoming. We could definitely help that, encourage that with our artists, all of our different cultures that are represented here in Merced. In downtown, we've talked a lot about that, but we have a lot of arts and entertainment with the different venues that we have, from Mainzer to the MAC to Playhouse to the Merced Theater. It's and just within like 3 blocks, which is pretty amazing, and it is a gem of the Central Valley in that sense. But we also have Bear Creek. It's been touched on. We have the bike path that's on that. We have all the parks that are around Bear Creek. And we have some of the most beautiful outdoor space in those sections of town. Curtis touched upon this too. We have the Wildlife Reserve, which is pretty amazing. We get artists and photographers especially from all over the world coming to our Wildlife Reserve to take pictures of all the plant life and all the birds that go there. It's pretty amazing. So I'd like to see us build more upon our creative and cultural economy. But I think that's one of our strengths as well. And that's one of the reasons that gives us that small town, homey feel that I love so much, especially when you go downtown. You go downtown and still know people by name and wave at one another. And I love that feel, and I hope we never get rid of that.
Especially you on Main Street. There's not one person you don't know on Main Street. Ms. Johnson.
So both the University of California and Merced City College are huge assets to the community. Merced College has been, an asset to the community since the 60s, and elevating as much as we can the how important those 2 educational spaces are to the future of Merced, I think, is hugely important.
All right, Mr. Emsman.
Yeah, we have a lot of assets here. I moved here in 1988, and one of the jokes I heard in our orientation meeting is we're right in the middle of everything. It just takes 2 hours to get there. And we should leverage that kind of thing because we are right in the middle of everything. And people we provide access to places like Yosemite and the wildlife refuges around here and other things. So I think that is an important asset for us. The beauty of the city, I think, is wonderful. It's Tree City, USA. I understand, and it's nice to have that kind of thing. The UC, especially the new UC hospital, I think is a tremendous asset for us. That puts us on par with Stanford, UCSF, and other research organizations that will really draw a lot of the medical community here that's really important for our development. Matt, you mentioned about the village concepts and such, and it's not realistic to think about small stores all over the place, and I agree. It's important to have well-established groceries, full-service groceries that are easily accessible to people, not proliferation of, I don't mean to mean Dollar General, but stores like that really don't have full-service kinds of products for people to buy. The cultural diversity I like here. I hope that we can expand the Merced and Atwater Expressway and really see that come to fruition, because I think that would really help the industrial area around the airport and Malibu Boats. Access to those areas is difficult when people have to travel, businesses have to travel through downtown to get to the freeway, and they look at the bottleneck at V Street and 99. New businesses look at that and they go, well, I don't know if I want to come in here and have trucks get stuck there and gridlock that intersection and other places. And I like the small town aspect. All the people at Walgreens Pharmacy knows my wife and me. I walk in there and they just, oh, here's your stuff right here. You need something for your wife too, and all of that kind of stuff. And I like that kind of thing. It's wonderful. I signed up for, I'm on Medicare now and all of that. And I looked at prescription drug plans and they said, well, why don't you go to CVS? And because it's cheaper. And well, it's cheaper, but they don't know me over there. They might know me after a while, but there's more to money that makes a beautiful community. So anyway, those are my comments. Thank you.
I think that's a big thing you've heard from everybody is that Merced, we're in that sweet spot where there's still enough going on. So, most of the things you need to do day to day, 90% of that you can do here in town. We need to keep doing better. I think the mall's a huge part of that with bringing more stores in, so people don't have to go out of town to shop as much. But the big thing is preserving that sense of community we have, kind of preserving that small town charm. So as we grow, and we've been one of the fastest growing cities in the state over the last few years, we need to keep growing, but then maintaining that small town feel where you know people, where there's community. I think leading with our strengths or our focal points being strength is really important. And that's, downtown, having a really nice downtown, being able to lead with things that are best about this town, the downtown, the creeks, the mall getting better as well too. So those things, Applegate Park, for example. So like our high points need to be well taken care of and they need to be high points. So we need to continue to keep trying to improve it in that way. Making the focal points very attractive things that the big things that people see. Doing better when it comes, like our entryways into town can certainly improve a lot. So when people come into Merced, the first thing they see, those things like that need to improve. I think another big strength is our affordability. There's been a lot of price pressure, a lot of price increases over the last few years, but Merced still remains one of the more affordable places in the state. And then we got good long-term growth drivers with UC Merced, potentially with high-speed rail as well. You look at this map right here, we're right now considering annexation of a number of county islands. So that could certainly be a big part of the general plan. Some of them are complicated, some of them are easy, but each one's a little different in terms of how it'll look. So, as we grow to incorporating some of those county areas and hopefully being being able to provide better services to our constituents when we do that. I think that's about it. So I think another potential strength too is underdeveloped, but 16th Street, for example. 16th is a major thoroughfare in town, Old Highway 99, and how do we do better with 16th Street, making that one, more attractive, but two, getting a lot higher and better uses out of 16th Street. We've seen good increase on Main Street. The downtown neighborhoods have a ton of charm. We can accentuate that a lot more still. But then 16th Street as well. I think that's the next step, really trying to unlock 16th Street and making that kind of like a, sort of a mini Olive Avenue in a way too as well. Mayor Pro Tem Boyle.
Thank you. So I will be echoing a lot of what was said, but I think it's just important. Our downtown, absolutely. I actually have a colleague that lives in Fresno, and every time he takes a train to Merced, he will stop at Ola Cafecito, and he'll come into the office and just praise of how well we have transformed our downtown. And, it just didn't happen overnight. It was before I was on council, when Matt was still a city council member, and just the work it took. And it takes a while, but I think as long as we have that goal in mind, we can really get things done. And that being said, the people, that's the first thing I think about when people ask me why I like Merced. It's our people. I don't know why it is the way it is, but even the other day I was going to get coffee at Ola Cafecito. I go downtown and I see our city staff installing trees. So I park and I start talking to them. And then when I go in there, I see an old colleague of mine. I start talking to him. And then next thing I know, the chancellor of UC Merced's in there. So I start talking to him and was out for an hour, which I thought was going to be a 5-minute quick and go get my coffee. But when I was walking back to my car, I was like, this is what I love about Merced is if you have the time for these people, they'll have the time for you. And you're sitting there talking about things that you never thought would be those discussions of those days. Merced College, absolutely. UC Merced, having those education pillars in our town, it's huge. I think that they're taking advantage of being in our own backyard. So I think it definitely needs to be part of the top of our list of our strengths. Our art, we have been very, we've done a lot of investments with the art in the last few years, and I'm very proud of it. I think that makes us very unique. Our small businesses as well. We don't have a lot of these commercial big box names, and I think that makes us special. And I don't want to be biased, but I do want to say District 5 is a huge strength because not only is it your residential, but you also have your commercial and your industrial. And so when we're talking about what do we look at for neighborhoods when we go out and grow these areas that continue to grow, I mean, look at District 5. The industrial area is on the outer part of the town, but you have those commercial spots, and I love that I'm able to drive to Target in 5 minutes. And I know other people in maybe Northern Merced would appreciate that kind of access as well. So as we grow, it's kind of look at what kind of works in some areas to adapt these either in Northern Merced or Southwest Merced. And one thing to note is that we are not in the middle of nowhere, but we are in the middle of everywhere.
My husband doesn't like that I could drive 5 minutes to Target, though.
That's true. So again, how do we, as we grow, preserving the sense of community, and then how do we keep Merced livable? Traffic here, people complain about the traffic around town here, but you go anywhere else for 2 minutes and you want to come back because that sense of livability where you can get everywhere in 5 minutes. 90% of what you need to do every day, you can do it within 5 minutes for most parts of town, which is pretty special. So how do we, with traffic flow, with traffic design, how do we maintain that sense of livability? And two, the sense of community, designing spaces, be it downtown, be it parks, be it commercial spaces that maintain that sense of community. Very important to us, town. Okay, anyone else? All right, we'll move on. And if anybody ran out of time, you can run into your next. You get 30 more seconds, so you're gonna get another chance. All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. This was all really fun stuff to hear. It's great to hear about all the wonderful things going on in Merced. And as we mentioned before, I mean, these are all things that we can plan for in the general plan, preserving things that are treasured by the community, but also keeping the momentum going for other assets that the city has. So thank you all. Our next topic that we're gonna cover, which in some ways has already been covered by some of your comments today, are what new opportunities does the city have for now, for in the next coming decades, and again, looking for citywide opportunities and location-specific opportunities. So I'll hand it back to the CFAG for the discussion.
All right, citywide opportunities and location-specific opportunities. Miss Kelly?
Thank you. I am honored to sit on the Institutional Biosafety Commission at UC Merced. And I will tell you, UC Merced is getting ready to open what's called their Biosafety Lab 3. So the potential there and the opportunity for research and what that could mean in our medical community is going to be enormous in this community. I am always excited to go to one of the BSL meetings because just what they're going to bring here to Merced and the grant funding they're going to bring with that and the people they're going to bring with that and the interest that's going to be in Merced for what's coming out of the UC is just enormous. So there's a great opportunity there. Also, you know, one of the things I always look at when we talk about opportunities, there is so much opportunity in Merced for entrepreneurship. And I think that needs to be encouraged more. I love when these new pop-up businesses happen, and I'm usually one of the first people to hop in there because I want to see what you have. You know, I like big box stores, don't get me wrong. They serve the purpose when I need something from a big box store, but I'm an intimate store shopper. You know, I love seeing new computer places or you know, consulting businesses. I just like seeing the entrepreneurship. And a lot of our I don't want to say kids, that dates me, but a lot of the young adults out at the UC have these amazing concepts. So I would like to see the city really foster that entrepreneurship, whether it's opening up, you know, like one of my favorite things right now, like at Hola Cafecito, I'm not going to lie, is the maple matcha. That's got my name on it, and they call my name as soon as I walk in the door. But those kinds of things, just individual businesses, these small hometown businesses, and definitely entrepreneurship. We need more opportunity for that.
All right, thank you, Miss Kelly. Okay. Did you finish? Okay. Mr. Sandoval.
A great opportunity is I think we need more third place spaces. The average age I think in Merced right now is 28 or 29. So that's a lot of young people. Young people like to do fun things. We like to go get a coffee, but we also like to go get a drink or go to the club or do things like that, right? So Joystick, as an example, Joystick is popping off. When Joystick did the Bachelor event that they were having, like that thing got packed. And so figuring out how we can incentivize our community to create those third spaces, being creative with our zoning, I think is a phenomenal opportunity. That also gives people the opportunity to, you know, stay busy, stay engaged, have fun, enjoy the city, and hopefully ultimately, you know, prevent some of this type of things we're seeing with crime and things like that, right? Because people that are having fun, people that are feel engaged, feel welcome, feel represented, always, you know, create better community members and things like that. So I think that's a big opportunity that we have here. Echoing what colleagues said over here with leveraging UC Merced College too. I mean, Merced College is busting out some of the best nurses that we have in the state, even in the country, you know. So really leveraging Merced College and the UC, fostering some of that entrepreneurship for sure. And I think another opportunity, and I mentioned it earlier, is outreach. But I think outreach for the sake of outreach is not so smart. I think outreach that is representative of our community and our demographic. I think 1 in 2 people in Merced is Hispanic or Latino. And so we really got to be able to think about, you know, what type of audiences we're targeting, because, you know, representation matters. And if you feel represented, you're more likely to be engaged. And I speak from experience. You know, I think I don't see much representation sometimes in certain spaces. So I think it's really important when, you know, people show up and can communicate to those folks in the manner that is best suited for those folks. So, you know, something you just can't beat is culture. You know, people connect through culture. And so figuring out ways that we can do outreach through a cultural representative lens. So that's
okay. Thank you, sir. Ms. Holloway.
I think a good opportunity we can do is really use Bob Hart Square. We expanded it, spent a lot of money on that. Let's do something with it. In 2006, I went to Germany during the FIFA World Cup, and I remember in these cities, they had these huge screens and were playing the soccer games for those who couldn't attend the game. Well, the FIFA World Cup's going to be here in the U.S., and maybe if we put a big screen downtown and play the U.S. games on there, just an opportunity to get people to go downtown, help out all those businesses, maybe do a little vendor fair type of thing, but really use Bob Hart Square and bring people to those businesses downtown because a lot of them are, locally owned. And so just bringing those opportunities to them. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. I think it'd be fun to display things like that. And right now our country with the politics and everything is crazy. So it's just a way to bring our country together and our small town together. And you will definitely find somebody down there watching it. So I think it'll be fun. I think we need to use Bob Hart Square and really take advantage of all the money that was spent there.
Mr. Thomas.
All right. Well, I think we've got some good opportunities with possibly collaborating, having the hospital collaborate with the UC and the college to become maybe a teaching hospital, to add PCI capabilities. It's kind of a shame that we don't have the ability to directly intervene in the event of a heart attack and that people need to go to Emmanuel Medical Center or to Fresno. We've got a lot of people in the mountain areas that end up needing to get flown out and bypass our city because of that. I think that our grid-based roads will support an excellent transit opportunity as the city continues to grow and expand. I think there's room possibly for light rail in the future if you dare to dream like I do. And I think that we've got a large land bank that's buried under asphalt. If the report actually specifically calls out removing parking minimums and utilizing AB 2097, parking spots don't pay taxes and neither do cars. And especially in a city like ours where we are hugely dependent on sales taxes, it's important, I think, to improve walkability and get people into shops that way. Kind of related to that, I think that having community retail is important to the resiliency of our city, and it's related to a lot of the issues that have been brought up by other people on this commission. Namely, I've lived in communities where we had small grocers, delicatessens, small neighborhood scale services mixed in with the neighborhoods, with the housing that you could just walk to. And it was great because you could just run into people, much like Pro Tem Boyle's story. I don't think that would have happened at Target, but at maybe a small grocer in your neighborhood, certainly you're going to run into your neighbors and you're going to have a chat with them. And that's an excellent way to build that community and to build third spaces and to build new charm. We don't have to rely on just Main Street forever for our character and our charm. We can build that kind of character and charm in our neighborhoods as well. And I think it's really just a matter of allowing people to do it. We don't need Walmarts and Starbucks to come in and build these stores. There's a place in my neighborhood that I'm not going to call out because it's technically illegal, but there's a bakery in my neighborhood that they display signs and they sell baked goods, and I love being able to bike down to this person's house and get baked goods in my neighborhood and not have to get in a car and leave, potentially get to run into some neighbors and talk. But the current regulations in the city, the current zoning ordinances don't permit that. And I think that that's a huge missed opportunity. It's a huge missed opportunity for sales taxes throughout the city and for services and resiliency.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. The area of Olive and G Street, the vacancies there, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Obviously, Merced Mall and the improvements that are going on in Merced Mall are fantastic. As Mayor Serrato said, 16th Street, now that it seems that high-speed rail is moving in a different direction. I think there's a lot of opportunity to develop the area between Main Street and the freeway, improving how town looks when you enter town from on 16th from either direction would be great. Getting off the freeway and coming into town from those spaces is not always pretty. It doesn't scream, oh, I want to hang out here for a little while. So I'm going to sort of bleed into improvements here, but opportunities, if we could do something with 59 and 16th, and if we could do something with Parsons and Yosemite, those would be places where improving the infrastructure around those spaces would just make getting through them and using them so much better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maxey.
Thank you. I'd like to see us really leverage the tourism opportunities that we have, right? I mean, we know that there is the hook to, Yosemite or the Sierras or foothills, whatever it might be. But really putting something concrete into the general plan's implementation program of, talking to our business community, what can they do? What do they want to see the city do to support tourism growth, or having people stick around for a while, right? What are the little things that they hear? There's been a lot of success in, I'll say, some of the Bay Area bedroom communities that have seen real strong tourism efforts result in drawing people out of other cities just to spend some time in their city, and that's obviously huge for business attraction, retention, and longer term development. I did want to comment really quickly just on the UC as an asset. It's also an opportunity there. I think there's with that being the economic engine that it is, and the innovation that's taking place there, obviously just the fact that we have a presence of student, staff, faculty that are involved, it's not going anywhere. And I think there needs to be some standard in our general plan that holds the UC to focusing on the city's needs. I think I personally have seen the UC, I won't say impose its will, but just kind of do what they want to do for the last 10, 15 years, and not always be necessarily the best partner in what the city needs to support the UC. And I think building some policies into the general plan would be is a good opportunity to at least have the UC really better involve the city at a policy level and what its growth looks like and what the city's growth looks like.
Thanks. All right, Mr. Emsminger.
Well, you mentioned 59 and 16th Street. It's also,
Mic check.
can you hear me? Thank you.
Sir.
You mentioned 59 and V Street. Well, it's also 59 and MLK too. And one of the opportunities we have, like I mentioned before with the expressway, is to redirect 59 out of downtown, because it creates huge traffic problems for us. The partnership with the UC, that's a two-way street, because I've heard people from UC saying the exact opposite of what you said. So we need to engage in a good dialogue with UC Merced and create opportunities for all of us and such. So that's one thing. Another opportunity, I think, for us is to look at ourselves as a city that supports all of the neighborhoods. In District 2, for instance, traffic is a huge problem there, as it is everywhere, but any traffic mitigation opportunities like speed bumps and things like that are supposed to be paid by the neighborhood. In District 2, that's almost that's not going to happen. We're hardworking folks over there. Most everybody's living paycheck to paycheck. If they're getting a paycheck, And so the idea of the community pitching in to build speed bumps and things like that just isn't there. So we need to think in a general plan of the community wide support for different districts and such. We have business opportunities. Some of the concerns I've heard from business owners in the industrial parks out by the airport where I've talked about was that Merced is one of the most expensive places to do business in the Central Valley because of the different regulations and fees. So we need to really kind of take a look at that and see what we could do to help encourage people to come here. We are transit, we are a tourism hub. I mentioned that before. On Facebook pages, all kinds of people, foreigners and others, are asking how to get to Yosemite and stuff like that. And others say, well, go to Fresno or go to Sacramento. And Yarts is the only bus that actually goes to Yosemite on a consistent basis year round. And so we need to leverage that kind of an opportunity. The UC hospital would be a big bonus. I live by the airport, and every time I see the big, the helicopters taking off to pick up people for medevacs, I think they're heading out to the big house somewhere up in Modesto, UC, the Bay Area or something. They could be coming here, and that would be a big help for people locally.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else? All right. Yeah, just adding on what my colleague said, downtown, high-speed rail, what's going to happen with that? That's a big unknown. This year is going to say a lot as all those potential amendments to SB 198 work their way through the legislature. Industrial, we've had a lot of conversations over the years about how to do better with our industrial parks and our job-creating zones. Continuing to do that. Again, kind of a moving target. We looked at different spots. You look at one spot, then it kind of changes to a different location. So there's been a couple of locations we've looked at over the years. But with market conditions change and other opportunities change, we need to continue to be flexible there. Southeast Merced, there's an enormous amount of growth all lined up in that whole kind of blank area on the map at Southeast Merced right now. Tons of potential annexations planned. The potential of a high-speed rail station down there at Mission. Tens, roughly, I forget the count now, but probably potentially 10,000 housing units in that area planned. Rezones of some areas to residential, numerous areas along Campus Parkway that the council just approved for rezones to residential from either business or industrial. Tons of opportunities in that area. With Ballpark Square, April, I'll throw out a plug if you know anybody on the Parks and Rec Commission. If you know anybody, I don't want to rehash our debate on the city council, but we set our fees for Ballpark Square at a certain level. In my view, I voted no. I couldn't get anybody to agree with me, but I think the fees were too high. So I think that discourages the use. So if there's any ideas for the Parks and Rec Commission to try to, put the fees at a level that would encourage more use, I think that would be a good thing. Ballpark Square was meant to be a community gathering and event space. When our downtown subcommittee and then our council looked at other downtowns, we studied a lot of other good downtowns in the valley, and we lacked an event space downtown. And so the point is that there's events there are things going on. There's instead of doing street closures, we can do more there in the square to avoid a lot of the street closures that can have negative impacts on businesses. So the point is Ballpark Square needs to be a high-level event space. And I think that's it. Downtown Association with the tourism. We have our tourism board. They're finally up and going now, supported by a transit occupancy tax. So there's if you look on Instagram, for example, it's Visit Merced CA. There's other sites. They're starting to go now. They have marketing, and it's part of kind of a Gateway to Yosemite program where it's slowly all kind of coming together with that to market it. You have planes, trains, and automobiles to Merced, getting that a little more, especially when our airport goes middle of the year, and then and then rail obviously as well, and then the tourism board to make it all run. So that's coming together, great opportunity. All right.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you all. These are all great, very insightful and in-depth and creative ideas and opportunities. So yeah, these are all very useful ideas that we can use as we begin to draft the vision and policies in the general plan. So thank you again. All right, so we're on to the last set of questions. There's two here, but it's all about lessons learned. So what can we learn from Merced's past? And similarly, what do you hope to see in Merced's future as it continues to grow upward and outward, as we've heard tonight? So I will hand it back to the CAFG to facilitate this discussion.
All right, thank you. And this is the last slide, last question. Then after this, how much more do we have?
Last question.
Last question.
Yeah, just some wrap-up slides after this.
Okay, so should be good on time. All right, what can we learn from Merced's past? What do you hope to see in Merced's future? A lot of overlap already with the previous questions, but if there's anything you want to emphasize or anything you want to add, please feel free. Mr. Griggs.
I'll jump in here now. I think the one thing that we learned in the past is, and it's been mentioned a little bit, that Bear Creek, we're one of the few cities that has a creek that runs through their city, and it's something that we really should expand on. We learned in the past that in an organization that I belong to, we've learned that creek has meaning to a lot of people that live in the city of Merced, from their youth or walking through it when they're in high school with their girlfriend or whatnot. It's been around forever. So in the future, we kind of hope to see that we do a little bit more with the creek and the bike path around it and make it more of a destination to bring what everybody's talking about in regards to that hometown feel, that park space, that water space, So if we could make something that we could be a destination, so we have downtown, Bear Creek being in the center of the town, and then North Merced having things up there. And we can just kind of hop, skip, and jump through the city with different types of activities would be good.
Ms. Kelly.
Yeah, I can only speak to the past, to 1990 when I got here. But one of the things that we can learn from the past is to stay away from rapid development. We all saw in 2008 what it did to this city and how it decimated a lot of people in this community. So going forward in the future, I'd like to see meaningful, well-planned, but staggered development. I think that's going to be more sustainable in the long run. And I also want Merced to become the destination and not just a pass-through. I want people to say, I'm going to Merced this weekend. I got a room at, the hotel, and I'm going to hang out downtown, and I'm going to watch the UC. I want it to be a destination place. And I see that coming slowly but surely. We see that by how many visitors we get. But a lot of times they're passing on their way to somewhere else. Thank you.
Mr. Sandoval.
Yeah, I think a lesson learned from the past is, I think, being open to creative alternatives of development, or just being open to different types of options. I think the Merced Mall is a great example. I think a lot of folks wanted a traditional mall experience, but developer came in and said, nope, we're going to go with something different. And I think something different is good, and I think change is good. I don't think we all should be anchored to, well, it's always been like this. We have, like I said, the city's population age is, we're getting younger in Merced, so I think we need to be a little bit more creative about what that means for the future, because people are coming and staying. I am a product of that. I was here, came to Merced 10 years ago for school. I've stayed here, I work here, and I love it here. And so I think let's not be hindered by, what a traditional experience looks like. Let's be creative and what change can we affect here in the city, and, change can be realistic. We just have to make it a SMART goal and make it realistic. And then I think what to see in the future, I want to see a city skyline that catches the eye off the 99. I think the Tioga looks really nice with its purple lights when you're driving through. Other cities don't look fun, right? You drive up and you pass Turlock. You're going over Turlock and you just see the big old, what is it, the bowling or whatever. That's all you see in Turlock. Modesto, you go under Modesto. So like, you know, there's no fun skyline there. So it'd be awesome to see skyline and encourage, you know, development with higher buildings, taller. This could be housing, this could be multi-use spaces, office spaces, bring in businesses. I know leveraging UC Merced to, you know, bring technology. We can be a technology hub here. We're seeing the rapid growth of AI, and I think let's be open to these new creative endeavors for the city. So, yeah, that's it for me.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Dennis?
I think in the past, we've overlooked like public art, where we do public art as an afterthought in development and infrastructure, where in the future, when we have development and infrastructure, we can put that into as it's being developed, as the infrastructure is being built. And it could be in residential areas, it could be in commercial areas, it could be on our roadways and underpasses as well, when these, as we grow, and incorporating some kind of funding mechanism into that, so that way it's part of the structure or, you know, whatever we develop in the future, instead of doing it as an afterthought.
Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, let's see. I would love to know what has changed today that prevents more development in the style of downtown Main Street from occurring. A lot of those buildings were built in a time where there was much less access to advanced construction materials and equipment. And I'm curious why it seems to be less possible today than it used to be. I think that would be a useful thing to look back on. I think that we can learn from other cities that have gone before us and misadventured into traffic, insolvency, and unaffordability. We don't have to walk the path that Modesto and Fresno have walked. We can learn from their stumbles, and we can create our own city. I know that we've had flooding issues. I think we can learn a little bit about how we're designing our water management from that. And I think that we can reflect on recent history and understand that big box sprawl does not create character. Nobody's waxing poetic about Walmart. I'd love to see a city, looking forward, I would love to see a city that is robust, resilient, affordable, and accessible. I'd love to see a city that, rather than modeling itself after what every other city is doing, we find our own way to be us and to be successful and to grow in our own way that prioritizes the people first, because that's what a city is. A city isn't a collection of roads or a collection of buildings. It's a collection of people, first and foremost. Also, I'd really love it if we could learn from some of the mistakes I feel with bike lane construction on our arterial roads. Let's not repeat that, please.
Ms. Holloway?
In the past, as a kid, I remember anytime we needed to go shopping, we would go to Modesto. I have so many memories as a kid in Modesto Mall, probably leaving my mom and my mom not knowing where I was, but that's another. But so now, and thinking of the future, I don't remember last time I went to Modesto Mall. I've been able to just buy everything here. My kids needed track shoes, and I forgot they had track tryouts. I was able to just do like a pickup really quick and do that here in town and find shoes. So I would love just to, and restaurants too. You know, I always say I'd go out of town to go eat. I probably use Chili's way more than people. Those free chips and salsa get me on the app every time. But in the future, just again, keeping people here, keeping our money locally. I'm saving a lot of money on gas, not leaving to many places. I see my tank lasting a lot more. So just, you know, that's saving people a lot of money and keeping the money here in Merced. So I hope to see that in the future and just keep it up.
All right, anybody else? Mr. Emsminger. You beat Mr. Maxio by about a quarter second.
Okay.
Get the quick Jeopardy hand.
Yeah, there you go. Matt, you mentioned different city centers before, and I think that's an important thing we could strive for. We have the G and Olive area, potentially the Campus Parkway area, downtown, out at UC Merced. They would all lend themselves to infill kind of housing that would be more dense to keep people in kind of intimate communities. And as long as those centers can be interconnected within the greater city, I think that would be a wonderful way for us to go. I was at the MCAG meeting last night about some of the things they mentioned they wanted to learn. And one of the participants, like you, had lived all over the place. I have too. He mentioned Portland, Oregon as being a kind of an exciting kind of environment, and it would be good to look into what they've done to create those kind of interconnected city hubs and things that keep people in local areas and affordable kinds of areas and shopping and visiting kind of experiences and things like that. So I think those are some of the things that I'd like to see for the future.
Mr. Max.
Thank you. Yeah, as mentioned, first I gotta say, Ms. Chanval, I've sat in like 4 of these general plan processes as a planner. I've never heard anybody mention Skyline as like a vision piece. That's awesome. It's fun. I keep thinking about it because it is, you can do a lot with that as a planner. So that's an awesome comment. Really, really great. Just looking into the future, my family moved here 10 years ago, looking at this as something of, what did Chico look like 70 years ago? Another town with a creek. What did Davis look like? Another town with a lot of, with a creek, arboretum, bunch of other trail amenities. And the common thread to that too is those are major university towns that have capitalized on that economic engine and a lot of the presence of the good that comes with their presence. And so just looking at, the weaving of the services, the uses, the amenities, the creativity, the arts, I'll say nightlife or fun things for younger folks that are part of the university. Seeing that fabric woven into the city is what I'd love to see, when I'm still living here in 30 years, 40 years.
Mayor Pro Tem Boyle.
So one thing that I want to bring up is just providing opportunities for children and having a really good childhood and growing up here in Merced. I'm from Merced, born, raised, everything here in Merced. I only left for 5 years and lived in Fresno, so Central Valley throughout my entire life. But one thing I always say is I had such a great childhood living in Merced, and I want that for this next generation as well. Talking about Modesto Mall just brought all these flashbacks as well. I even remember driving there when cell phones, if you bought your cell phone in Merced, you wouldn't even get phone calls outside of Merced. And so there's just so many memories, but that was just like the thing to do. That was the cool place to go. But I also remember the Merced Mall where you couldn't even find a parking spot when you were going and looking for your Christmas gifts or back to school shopping. I mean, I remember having the coolest Nikes in 4th grade and I bought them here at in the Merced Mall. But there were just so many fun things that I got to do, and I really want to emphasize that because I hope that in 30 years or 40 years that the children that are growing up right now, that they have those type of opportunities and they would be the ones sitting up here one day too.
Any other speakers? All right. Again, I think it's important for us to balance having a big vision and a bold vision with being realistic and being flexible too. We have to build in flexibility as well because market conditions can change quite a bit. And sometimes if we're stuck with antiquated zoning, it can really be a hindrance to development. Really producing high quality neighborhoods and people-centered neighborhoods is important. That fosters a sense of community. And I think, as was mentioned earlier, just accentuating our strengths and really elevating those in an important way, I think, because we have some really cool strengths, and it'd be pretty cool to see a skyline be one of them one day too. But you see,
You gotta put your name on it now. Like.
shoot, call it put like CAFG on there. Big, everybody will wonder what we're talking about. But I think in the past too, maybe there was sometimes growth that abandons other parts of town is something really to be wary of. So when we grow, how do we grow in a way that strengthens the other parts of town as well? I think we've been, nothing's obviously perfect, but we've been very conscious of trying to restore and rehabilitate, older parts of town in particular, seeing the success in downtown, but really reinvesting in those parts of town I think is important. So how do we grow in a way that doesn't, like 50 years ago when you build the mall, then downtown gets gutted? How do you do it in a way that raises the tide everywhere? All right, nobody else? All right, got a couple more minutes?
Yeah, so probably sound like a broken record, but thank you all again. This is really great insights into all these different topics that we talked about tonight. As you've all been discussing each of these assets, issues, and opportunities, Brandon's been taking a lot of notes, so we will be using these 10 pages of notes, apparently. So yeah, we'll be using this a lot as we begin to draft the vision statement and goals and policies in the general plan. So we have heard from you all tonight. We heard a bunch of feedback at the community open house that we had a couple weeks back, and then we'll be accepting online feedback through the survey until March 16th. So what will we do with all this feedback that we have heard from all these different groups of people? We will be compiling all of it and synthesizing all of it into a vision and guiding principles for the general plan. This will work to create a unified vision for what the city would like to see in its future and how it can meet all these different goals and needs of the community as we talked about today. The vision statement will then guide the direction of all of the goals, policies, and programs in the general plan as we go through the update. So the next time we come to you, we will be sharing the drafted vision statement with you all. But then we will still continue to refer to all the feedback we've heard so far as we continue to update policies. And with that, I will hand it back to Brent.
All right, Brent.
So it is going to be a few months before we're back. If you think that we have a few more weeks for the online survey, it's going to take time to go through all of the feedback, synthesize it, prepare a summary report that the CFAG will get a copy of, Planning Commission, as well as Council. That report will have all of the documented notes, all of the feedback verbatim shown that we've received, so that you yourself can look through the pulse of the community and what everyone is thinking. Next time we see you again, Hannah had mentioned we'll have a draft. I want to call it a draft and emphasize that. It's not finalized, so it's a draft vision and guiding principles. It's going to be a fun meeting with all of you because we're going to wordsmith everything, and this is the opportunity for everybody to weigh in. I will say that meeting can tend to be long. I can see a full 2 hours. I would probably implore the CFAG ahead of time. If you have comments, document everything and bring it ahead of time. We'll work with city staff to provide that draft vision statement and guiding principles so you have ample time before the meeting to weigh in. Again, if you have more feedback from tonight, please provide that to city staff. They'll get a copy of that to us. After the CFAG provides their feedback on the draft vision and guiding principles, it will also go out for public review again. And then it'll make its way to a joint meeting of the Planning Commission and City Council where both bodies will adopt that as the vision for your 2050 general plan moving forward. After that, in the summer, is when we start the meat of it, which is the policy document itself. So once we go through all of the feedback from the vision, that's when we start going through each of your general plan elements, updating per state law, and then reflecting where the vision is heading in new policy direction, new land use direction, folding in the annexations, leveraging economic development opportunities within the community. And at that point, there'll be 3 or 4 CFAG meetings where we'll walk through each of those elements. There are 13 elements that are going to come before all of you, but we're going to break them into more bite-sized chunks. We don't anticipate you to go through all 13 in a single meeting. That will wrap up through the remainder of the year and into early 2027. So that kind of gives you a snapshot of where we're heading. I'll ask the chair if there's any questions for the consultant team on schedule. Otherwise, that is the conclusion of our presentation.
Okay, any questions? Mr. Maxon?
Just real quick for staff, if it's not a huge burden, just because we've had some shifting in schedule, can we get just a rough schedule of what our next 3 meetings would be dates wise, please? Even a ballpark would be helpful.
Go ahead, Sam.
What we'll go ahead and do is we'll email the entire team of what we look like the CAFG is going to be looking at throughout the entire year. So that way you guys can plan and we can be ready to move forward on that.
And we do have a draft schedule that staff is currently reviewing that goes through the end of the year.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Sam. All right, Mr. Amsmer.
Sam, have you been able to talk with Anna and Ingrid out at UC Merced about their survey work?
The last time I heard from the organization is when we were trying to discuss a time to go ahead and meet for coffee.
Okay.
So I put the ball in their court, and I haven't heard anything back at the moment. So,
okay. I'll follow up with them because I would really like to have their surveys be included in our work too. Because like I mentioned, they can survey probably 1,000, 2,000 people in the community easily, and they plan on doing it. So I'll follow up with them, Sam, and try and get us all connected, because we talked about being engaged with UC Merced, and they want to be engaged with us too. And this is a wonderful opportunity for us to really get a really good bead on what the community would like. So.
Okay, yeah, I'll keep an eye out for the email. I think, when we were talking to them, it was December, January, and, with the UC, I'm sure the semester started up and everybody else, they got busy. So, no worries, yeah, I'm more than willing to hear them out and what they can do and what we can do to make sure that we can get the community engaged.
Yeah. Mr.
Shanville. You mentioned we'd get copies of things with ample time for feedback. Would that be like a 2-week lead time, 1-week lead time before a meeting? Just trying to understand timing-wise for comments, or Sam?
So typically what will happen is they're going to go ahead and generate the materials, and that comes to staff. Staff then takes the time to go ahead and review it, maybe kick it back to the consultant so we can zero things in. So I guess to give you a direct timeline right now, I can tell you right now I'm working on a skeleton crew. I've had a lot of movement going on in the planning division. The one thing I can tell you is we can make sure that those documents get to you beforehand. But as of right now, to be able to say, oh yeah, I would be able to get you a draft at least 2 weeks before, I can't commit to that because I'm, as even leading up to this meeting, there were some last minute things that we were having to make sure we met. But I will do my best to make sure that we're sharing that information with the CAFG as we get it and right before publication.
For sure, thank you.
And I do want to just touch on the engagement, Mr. Sandoval, that you had brought up, and I know Councilmember Boyles brought up engagement as well and notification. We had a lot of community members at our workshop come up and say, hey, we're willing to open up our Facebook page. We're willing to open up our Instagram. We're willing. So we have those channels, and we're currently coordinating. Everything obviously gets funneled through city staff. This isn't something that I would go charge through. But there are lots of community organizations that are willing to start to put the survey out, put out information, and act as an ambassador arm beyond the CFAG. So those conversations are being had, and I know that's been a priority of council and commission through this process, so I want to let you know that that is happening behind the scenes.
Additional questions? All right, seeing no more. Absent any, you guys have any further comment?
That's it.
Okay, absent any further discussion, further comment, we are adjourned at 7:59, 1 minute early. So appreciate everyone. Thank you.